What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Black woman says that the South Africans have lost their empathy, and she's highly disappointed on some of the reactions that the South Africans are giving other Africans due to this current situation that's been drummed up by rich white people in suits and the politicians that work for them. Right? Every election cycle, the politicians, they start to gather the money from the donors who they promised to pass legislation for, right? Then they come out and they find the best, easiest, quickest route to get people to vote for them. The best, easiest, quickest route is to go to the same old tropes. Oh, it's them people over there. Those people over there are the bane of your existence. They are the reason why you are going through the things that you're going through. Not me. Don't blame me, the actual politician who you guys elected and didn't do my job. Not me, but them over there. Right, happens all over the world, right? And racial differences are something that, or ethnic differences or something are easy targets for politicians to target, or for NGOs who want to push a social narrative to go a certain way. Like, for instance, in Trinidad and Tobago, right? My home away from home, right? Everything is fine with the African Caribbeans and the Indian Caribbeans, because remember, there's a lot of Indian people in the Caribbean because they were exported after slavery. They were exported by that same white person and made to be indentured servants, basically slaves, right? Indians have always been used. Listen, Indians have always been used by white people as a wedge against black people. So any economic development you ever see an Indian, all right, have, any success you see that they have, whether it be in the Caribbean, it be in North America, there is a white man that sat there somewhere along the line and said, you know what, we'll piss that African off, we'll piss that black person off, we'll piss that African American off. I'm going to go get my flunky ass Indians who, because of the caste system, they have no problems with my racism, right? Because they get to be racist to their own people, right? As long as, and it fits because they're white, and then Indians want to be white, and they just discriminate on their own people the darker they are, right? They know that they can just place an Indian, boop, right there, give him economic leverage and power, and watch him self-sabotage his people and Africans at the same time, while only benefiting himself personally, but not his Indian people personally. They'll continue to be used as a conduit, as lubricant, to move the gears of white supremacy around the world, right? So in Trinidad and Tobago, everything's all good. Everybody's like, we all Trinity, we all Tobagoans, until the elections come up, and then what happens? All of a sudden, they're Indian again. All of a sudden, the politicians want to talk about the differences between Indians and Africans, and why the Indians are doing so much better than the Africans, even though the Indians are only doing better because the white people specifically want them to do better in order for this exact effect to happen. And this is not only happening in the Caribbean, it happens in South Africa, where the Indians are used by white people to empower, to wedge group them, right, to keep African people at the bottom. Because keep in mind, Africans are the target, all right? POCs are the weapons and the tools against Africans via white people. You see, Indians are not the target. They've been destroyed. They're mentally destroyed, culturally destroyed. White people are not afraid. White people killed hundreds of millions of them, and they still go to their countries in vacation, and they turned a whole group of people into a religion. It's called Hindu. All right, that's not even a damn religion. It was a group of people, the Hindus people of the Indus Valley. They turned it into a religion. So as white people move about the world, and they find the weakest POCs to be able to mold them into their tools, their lubricant, right, for white supremacy, right? We as black people, we suffer the consequences of those effects, right? So while you got Indians and other Asian people who are also used on the very same scale, not as bad as Indians. Indians are used in America, same way, right? They're used gas stations. How the hell these poor people get gas stations? Because some white person made sure that they can get a gas station. But over there next to those people, just like the Koreans. Yeah, you can't set up over here, but you can set up over here next to those people. Matter of fact, that's the only place you can set up. Matter of fact, you ain't got no choice but to set up over there. Deal with it. And then therein lies the conflicts that we have between us as Africans and Asians, right? So as an African American, I can recognize what happened in South Africa. Caribbeans can also recognize what's happening in South Africa, right? In every election cycle, here comes some word salad, some politician that's going to remind you of the differences of that person in order to make effect, right? Because as long as you continue to argue and fight over the differences of other people, right, you don't fight against the people that's actually the author of your dysfunction on this planet. That's the author of your lives and your misery, right? Because you're too busy functioning, or you're too busy attacking the people you can touch, because you feel like you can't touch that, right? So F it, I'm just gonna go ahead and touch this, right? It's the only thing I can do, right? And this happens in South Africa. And so because of that, right, some uneducated, gullible, misled Africans are blaming it on other Africans. It's ridiculous, obviously, right? But you got to understand how far gone some of these people are. Just because you're rational doesn't mean other people are rational. Just because there is a thing called common sense doesn't mean that common sense is actually common in the world. Because, I mean, it's not. Common sense is an excellent level up in humanity and discoverability of, you know, humanity. Like, it's excellent. Like, to have common sense, you're winning, right? That is a weapon that you can use to survive all the way into the end, right? But a lot of people don't have it, right? And so in this case, there are some South Africans who forget who really support them, forget what people actually supported them during their hardest times, and they're attacking those people. And that should seem familiar, right? Because in your family, the person doing the worst usually does what? Attacks the person who helps them the most, attacks the person who cares for them the most, attacks the person who loves them the most. You ever notice that? A person in crisis, a group of people in crisis, right? A nation in crisis will attack the people closest to them, right? That loves them the most, that also helps and support them the most. So if you are a supporter, understand that's part of it. Supporting someone that's currently not in the right mind to be able to understand and comprehend and have the empathy for where their support is really coming from and where their pain and suffering is coming from, right? And so we got a lot of South Africans that don't know where the pain and suffering is coming from, and they're pointing it at the wrong direction. We got a lot of African Americans doing the same thing, right? They don't know where the pain and suffering is coming from, right? So they're pointing it at the wrong direction, right? And as long as we continue to point our pain and suffering at the wrong direction, we will continue to be in that pain and suffering that we continue to uphold while remaining ignorant, willfully ignorant, unwillfully ignorant, and festering within the propaganda given to us so that we can do what it is that we as humanity are doing now, fighting amongst each other for the scraps that the rich white men in suits have dropped down from their ivory towers for us to consume. Anyway, you tell me what you think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Good morning, everyone. How are you, though? Okay, let's talk about what is happening in South Africa, because for me personally, as a human being and someone that's actually followed the South African movement, I am shocked. I'm shocked at the lack of empathy, lack of appreciation of South African people to the contribution of the other African country to their struggle and what they become. I've watched other videos that have been out there, and let me tell you something. Every political cycle, whenever there's an election coming up in South Africa, there is always this xenophobia happening and an attack on other African country. This is kind of like a political tool that's been going on for years now. And it's so funny that they always target the blacks, while the other colors, the Asian, the whites, are left unhurt. And why this particular attack is hurting is that they've lost that human empathy. I saw a video of a woman who was pregnant that was sent out of a hospital. I saw a video of people that were being, unalived just because they are from other African country. And I just kept wondering, what is going on in this world that we live in? Now, the jobs that they are talking about, from what I know, because I have cousins and friends that live in Africa, most South African indigenes will not want to do all those manual jobs. They will rather do other things, which I don't want to talk about here, and then they accuse other African country who are willing to do any job of taking their jobs. And if you have a country and you have a president, they should put law into place. Like in my country, every organization will have at least 80% indigenous working for them. Why is it that you're not holding your own government accountable for them not putting laws that will enable companies employ your people? Or is it that companies are not able to get your people who are willing to work? And now you are blaming the failure of your people not wanting to work on indigents. You see something here? Until we all sit down and talk about the right to work globally, even in some of the Western world that we live in, we know that some of the menial jobs, the indigents don't want to do it. And most times the foreigners that do it. If you go to care industry, cleaning, all the stuff, people that are indigents take those jobs as if it's nothing. But people travel, leave their country and come down to these countries, and they don't mind doing it because of, political, political strength. They just want to get money. And then people will now turn and say, you are taking our jobs. What job? What job? Are you guys willing to do those jobs? No, you are not. And is it why you will unalive people? Did you see how many people that have been unalive since this thing started? And yet the president is saying nothing. You see, this is why I love Obasanjo. This can never happen during Obasanjo's term. Obasanjo should have, by now, would have done something or said something. Tinubu is just too... He's a coward. I'm so sorry to say this. That guy, there's nothing presidential about him. Seriously, nothing presidential. How dare your own countrymen, your own citizen are being unalived. And you've not done anything. You've not even said anything. And it's Abike that is talking crap. Guys, let me tell you something. This is why I'll always prefer sometimes a military rule in Nigeria than all the civilians that are looting our money. They can't dare do it. Anyway, as all these things develop, what I'm going to say is, if you're a businessman and you live in South Africa and you are an African person and you have a business in South Africa, close shop, go back home, start that business in your country. Let them understand that the foreign nationals that are in their country doing business, actually they pay taxes, and it's this tax that their people, that their governments are using to build roads and to maintain them. It's funny that these people are not doing anything to the Asian people. And then the same South Africa, there is a part of South Africa where the blacks cannot go to. Orania. They can't go there. It's their own country. But that particular part of their country is strictly for white people. Segregation still happening in this present time. And they are busy talking about other African countries. Guys, you know what? I blame our African leaders. I blame other African leaders that are not actually doing enough for their people. And for a country like Nigeria that we have everything, we have the minerals, we have everything, the manpower, everything, it is a pity that we find ourselves being spoken to in such a way by other African countries. It is annoying. It's annoying because when it comes to one of the best brains, black brains in this world, they're Nigerians. Smartest, they're Nigerians. But because of lack of leadership, lack of political leadership, that's why Nigerians are being spoken to as if it's a shame. Anyway, guys, what is happening now is that somebody needs to say something. Something needs to be done. And you see those people, they are using people's life and to them is nothing. You loot people's business. It doesn't make your life better. Yeah? It does not make your life better. Alright guys, this is my take on this South African stuff. And you know, it's not going to end, it's not going to stop. And I pray for all of my cousins and all of my friends that are over there. I think it's about time you guys relocate to another country or go back home, because that place is not working out. At least in the UK, Canada and America. This is what I keep saying here. You see, God created the black men and the white men differently. A white man will not let a pregnant woman out of a hospital or people who are dying. They won't do it. No, they won't. I'm so sorry to say this. They're not that callous. They're not that wicked. You see the heart of a black person? We need to start talking about it. We are sometimes wicked to our own people and to ourselves. It's a pity, but that's the truth. And that's why sometimes when they say what they say, you kind of like there's some truth in it. All right guys, take care, bye bye. We don't know what you guys think about what's happening in South Africa, but it's a pity that we are at this point.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.